Welcome to The Grow Show, powered by Steel. On The Grow Show, we share ideas, tips, tactics, and insights to help you grow your landscaping business based on our team's 40 years of experience running a landscaping company and working with other owners and their teams to do the same. New episodes are released weekly on Wednesdays. Without further ado, here's your host, Marty Grunder.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be. This is Marty Grunder from Grunder Landscaping Company and the Grow Group. Thanks for downloading the Grow Show, powered by Steel. Today, I'm going to talk to the very talented Gage Roberts from Aspire Software about some ways that you can improve your business, not just using Aspire Software, but some other things as well. But first, a reminder, you can get the latest edition of the Grow Show delivered to your phone, tablet, or computer by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch us on YouTube for an enhanced learning experience. The Grow Show is the greatest thing since Mike Weinberg's new Sales Simplified. I know you've heard me talking about this in the past, and right now, we folks are looking for sales, and one of my friends and longtime clients, host of Grow a few years ago, Taylor Milliken, he told me one time in one of our peer group meetings, he said, Marty, I like to read the books that have to do with what challenge I'm confronted with. And most owners and leaders of landscaping companies right now are confronted with some sales challenges. Pick up New Sales Simplified by my buddy Mike Weinberg. You'll be glad you did. You'll learn some tips and you'll move your sales forward. Now on to this week's edition of the Grow Show. We have Gage Roberts, the newly promoted Senior Director of Strategic Accounts. Gage, welcome to the Grow Show.
Hey, Marty, thanks for having me, man. I wish we didn't wait this long to do this, but I'm excited to have a talk with you about how we can improve the industry and push sales forward.
Well, first of all, I'm dying to know, what does a Senior Director of Strategic Accounts do?
Your guess is as good as mine. No, I'm kidding, Marty. My role, since I've been in the industry for as long as I have, is to engage with our top companies in the industry that make up, basically the top 150. My role there is to foster relationships and make sure that every company in this industry that needs help is getting the help that they deserve.
Okay, terrific. How long have you been in the industry? I know, but give our viewers and our listeners here on the Grow Show a little bit of background to your expertise.
Yeah, been in the industry for 14 years. I've been at Aspire specifically for going on 7. For anybody that may not know, I was the first sales rep that Aspire hired back in the day, working right under the legendary Kevin Kehoe, who I know you are very fond of,
Yes,
Mr.
I
Grunder.
am.
And so I've been at Aspire basically since the ground floor, and I've seen it grow to immense heights that we are currently at, and we have plenty of room left.
We lost our friend Kevin a while back, and he's up in heaven looking down at us right now, seeing all the wonderful things that's being done with this incredible life-changing piece of software. A funny story, Gage, and I know you've heard me tell this, so you know what I'm going to say. But I remember when we had you come in here, I believe it was October of 18. Is that right?
That sounds right, Marty.
So it was October of 18, and you and Kevin both called on us, excuse me, to try to get us to buy Aspire. And I remember under every single thing that you told me it would do, I would say under my breath to myself, BS, there's no way it's going to do that. It can't be that easy. It's ridiculous. We went to dinner that night. We brought Seth, who at the time was our general manager, has since been promoted to president. Seth came in the office this next morning. He said, hey, listen, I really want to get Aspire. He goes, will you support that? I said, Seth, I support you. I don't think it's going to be able to do all those things. I mean, it just sounds way too good to be true. If you feel that's the course we need to take, I will support it 100%. And Gage, I don't hate to say this. I'm glad to say everything you guys said it would do, it's done it and more. And it's crazy to say this, but it's changed my life. And it's changed my life in such a way that good managers make good decisions with good information. And the information that we get out of Aspire is amazing. So ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a commercial for Aspire. This is some wisdom to share with you, that if you're running 39 spreadsheets, if you don't know where you stand right now, if you're saying ridiculous things like, well, we'll see where we are at the end of the year, we'll hope for the best. You can't keep running a business like that, can you, Gage?
No, we see people try all the time, Marty. I know in your line of work and with the conversations that I have, we get people that try to fight against that grain of evolving, and they end up struggling pretty badly.
It's the industry changing in the last 5 years, in your opinion?
I would say technology in general, Marty. I work for Aspire, but this is not a commercial for Aspire. I think it has been fantastic to see private equity come into our industry with an influx of cash. And with that, we have really grown our technology interest. We're still very far behind other industries that are investing into AI and robotics and things like that. But we are quickly catching up because owners in this industry, yourself included, Marty, are noticing the tremendous upside and benefits to incorporating technology in their business. It helps people be more efficient. It helps companies be more attractive for hiring new employees. It has just all around been a very beneficial thing in our industry. And I would say the other thing that I have just loved to see is the growing of peer group interest. You know, yourself running the Grow Group, I love coming to Grow, Marty. It is amazing to see all of those people in one room, all going towards the same goals, all looking at the industry as, you know, there's a lot of opportunity. And I love that we can work together as a collective group to help grow this industry.
You know, Seth doesn't like it when we call Aspire technology. He just thinks that that can be a crutch, and you know Seth well. And I understand that, but I don't know any other way to define it so that everyone knows what we're talking about. The amount of technology that we use here at this $13 million a year landscaping company is amazing, and how we're leveraging it. One of the things that I'm infatuated with, although I admittedly do not understand it, is AI and where that is going. What role does AI play in where we're going here, Gage? What can you share with us that Aspire's doing with AI or the industry in general?
Yeah, the industry in general is really looking into AI. I would say mostly with our competitors, they're looking at equipment, mowing manufacturers, looking at AI, self generated or self propelled mowers. I'm not sure if you have one, but I've seen them on the corporate offices, them being tested out before. But Aspire is really looking at AI in two big key areas. One of them is sales. Really augmenting the sales process to help people grow faster.
What does that mean, augmenting the sales
So
process?
removing steps, you know, number one, but also
Okay.
recognizing behaviors of your prospects and your customers to understand timing of when you should reach out, offerings that you should be offering, and what time of year you should be doing that. What types of projects did you do 5 years ago that could need, you know, uplift today? Things like that. Opportunities are just endless. But the other areas that we're very excited about with AI is the property intelligence piece. So we have a product called Property Intel, and that is a conglomerate of what used to be Go Ilon and Land One. You know, a really good maintenance software and a really good construction software. We put them together, and we're investing a lot of money into this piece of software to um, to complement Aspire. And the idea here is to speed up the estimating process for your salespeople to get bid to hand faster, because we know time kills deals, Marty. Salespeople know that. And the faster you can get bids out there, the more important they are. I will say this though, and I've said it since I've started at Aspire. Speed doesn't mean anything if it doesn't hold its value or if it's not more valuable. A lot of people in this industry, and I know you've seen it too, Marty, they'll go faster, but then they lose value or they lose quality because they're out of control. So we are focused on going faster and having more control.
So, you know, the amount of time that we used to spend doing a bid, doing a takeoff, and then Gage going into a bid situation, still not being that confident, saying things like, well, I hope I had it right. Hey, did you hear there was an error? Like the drawing showed 192 sea green junipers, but there were really 342. Really? Yeah, there was a second sheet to the drawing. And there's just so many things like that that human error can cost you a lot of money. And being able to do more with less the main challenge in our industry right now is finding and keeping good people. And if we have technology like this that can eliminate the need for people, that's good. But I think also, I reflect back to, it was one of my very first consulting visits about 25 years ago. I went to a company out east, Gage, and I was walking around their shop, and they were a decent sized company at the time, maybe 3.5 million, which, 25 years ago was a pretty good sized business. And they didn't have any sod cutters. And the owner, let's just say his name was George. I said, "Hey, George," I said, "don't you have any sod cutters?" He's like, "No, I don't have any sod cutters." He goes, "I got H2B workers with a sod knife. That's a lot better." And I remember like admonishing him for saying that. Like, why would you say that? How much more efficient could that H2B worker be with a sod cutter in his hand? Instead of putting three on him, trying to scuff up a whole yard and beating the heck out of him, that's what you want to do? I see tools like Property Intel, smart owners and leaders of landscaping companies realize that putting those tools in the hands of this younger generation, that's what they want. My son is almost 24 years old. If you gave him a piece of paper and a scale and a pen and told him to do a takeoff, I think he'd look at you and say, "Are you nuts? There's got to be an easier way of doing this." Speak to what you're seeing there with companies. Are they adopting this? Like companies that you're working with that have owners my age, 56 years old, I know they're getting great benefit by maybe breaking some old habits. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, that all of those great points, Marty. And the two things really, if you mess up the takeoff and bidding process, even if you win the job, which your chances are lower, obviously, but even if you win it, I think people lose sight of the downstream negative effects that it can have. Because where does that tension usually fall? Between sales and production.
Right.
And that tension's always there anyway.
That is so well said. That folks, we need to say that again.
Yeah.
The tension between sales and production is intensified by these bids that are done wrong. And AI, Property Intel specifically, or whatever you're using, a software to aid in the accuracy actually helps your culture, is what I'm hearing you say, and the teamwork.
That's right. So to answer your question, Marty, on what am I seeing owners do? Owners are finally starting to see the actual benefits. And we can come out here and say, hey, this software is great. It's going to give you X, Y, and Z. But now we have proof behind it. And culture is huge. And I was at a Southern Botanical last year. You go into their shop and they got TVs everywhere and Aspires here and Aspires over there. And their team members are all Aspires in every single word that every single sentence that they're using, and they're just totally bought into it. And the owners will say, this has improved work-life balance for my employees, which makes that owner more attractive to hire. And it's also improved the owner's work-life balance. And I know, Marty, you like to sit in an airport and you don't have to call anybody and you just look
Right.
at your tablet and
It's amazing.
you know the health of your business right there.
It's amazing. And, at times I almost feel like a snoop. I'm looking at all these things. I go to the next meeting so well prepared with information. Again, I'm going to say it again. Good managers make good decisions with good information. If you don't have that information at your fingertips, whether it's Aspire, LMN, whatever, let's throw out the name. You're leveraging a piece of technology, putting it in the hands, largely overworked team members, and look at what we can do with that. Aside from AI, Property Intel, what other things are you seeing out there that is making life, I don't even want to, well, I guess easier, but is enabling contractors to get more efficient and more profitable? What else are you seeing out there?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, Marty, is community, and that's something obviously that you provide, very very well for the industry. But people rely on their counterparts in the industry. They love going to events and really communicating with people on getting new ideas to bring back to their business. I think that that's always been here, Marty, but I believe it was always kind of hinged on the GIE Expo. People would just
Yeah,
wait
and that
all
was
year.
that was kind of it.
Yeah.
You went to that annual conference and you have your conference coming up, Ignite. Let's talk a little bit about that. What can attendees of Ignite expect?
Boy, you want to talk about community. It's a really fantastic place. I think there's a very specific persona of a customer that comes on board with Aspire. And when you get to a place like Ignite, which is Aspire's client conference, you get to see a lot of really like-minded people that are very
They're
professional.
like-minded because they're running the same software. So the nomenclature, the challenges, the wants and wishes for Aspire, they're all there. They're the same.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, and we live in a very blue collar industry, but you see people that look at their business as a professional business and not just a landscaping company, which I think is very cool.
So, what other advice would you have for landscaping companies to better manage their team and improve overall productivity? What are some things that you're seeing?
I think one of the best things you can do is ask your employees what could make their life better, what could make their life easier, and really encourage feedback. A lot of employees are scared to share that with their bosses and their ownership because they need their job, obviously. But you should really encourage that two-way communication and open door policy to make sure that your employees are being taken care of, A, but you are an attractive site for new people coming into our market. It's no secret that landscaping isn't, the hottest thing coming out of college, but getting into colleges for NCLC, for instance, and getting in front of these kids to show how much fun you can have in this industry is really important. But you can't show how much fun we can have if you're not having fun at your own company.
Yeah, we often talk about one of our big challenges in our peer group discussions, Gage, are, I don't have any team leaders. I got to find team leaders. I'm 7 people short. I don't even know where to go. And we try to share with them some ways to overcome, the development of team leaders, because I don't think you're going to find them. You're going to have to develop them. And we try to share with them ways to recruit. But I think sometimes, Gage, the obvious is missed. I mean, if you want people to work at your company, you got to make your place a great place to work. So if I come to work and Gage asks me how I'm doing and takes me to lunch or does a regular one-on-one and asks me what's a tool or a tactic, where do you not feel supported, what do you need, we were having a discussion last week at the SIMA conference in Pittsburgh around the concept I learned from an executive at Toro. And I don't know if you've ever heard me share this, but he said this to me 10 years ago. And I was like, wow. And the concept is, Gage, everybody talks about exit interviews where you have an interview with someone after they left and you try to learn maybe where there were some areas that your company didn't do so well and how could you improve. And the executive said, but we really should be having stay interviews. He said a stay interview is a conversation with someone while they still work for you to say, hey, what kind of an opportunity, if it came across your desk, would you probably give strong consideration for leaving? When you come into work and you go home at the end of the day feeling like you accomplished something, what does that day look like? What's a tool, a piece of software, something that you wish you had that would make you more productive? It was all these questions that spoke to the current situation. And I think that's some good advice. And as when you say ask questions, you're a lot younger than I am, and you have a lot. I mean, I've worked with a lot of your reps, and they're young. Like they're different. They're not worse. They're just different. There's things that are extremely important to me in my genre, my generation, and there's things that are extremely important to folks in their 20s and 30s. And I think the best companies are the ones that have a culture, an atmosphere, an attitude that everyone is important. We have a list of non-negotiables, but then we're going to explore. How are you getting all these young people to come to Aspire, and how are you keeping them?
Well, we ask a lot of questions. I will say that, but one thing that I learned very early on, and honestly, I learned it from Kevin Kehoe, is success looks different to everybody.
Success looks different to everybody. Okay.
So you have to figure out what success looks like through their eyes. And I'll give you just a very specific example here, Marty. I talked to a business owner, and he was chuckling about this. He said to one of his employees, "What would make you want to come to work more? What would make you love your job more?" The answer wasn't money. The answer wasn't culture. The answer was, when I get on our mowers, I would love for them just to look clean. And the owner's like, that's what would make you love coming to work more? So he put together a mower washing program at the end of every other day. And this guy became the GM at this company in 2 years, and they're killing it. So I say that example because you don't know if you don't ask. And we ask a lot of questions, and most of them are, what does success look like to you? And how can I help foster that?
And that's a great point. I remember years ago, we had our Sam's Club memberships had morphed up to like, I don't know, like 17 or 18 people had a Sam's Club membership. And I looked at the bill and I'm like, what are we doing here? No, 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 no. We don't need that many. We need like two. This is crazy. So I canceled them. Seth came to me. He's like, "Hey, did you cancel a bunch of Sam's Club memberships?" I'm like, "Yeah, I told Sherry not to. We only need two. Why do we have 18?" He goes, "Well, I don't know why we have 18, but the $45 a year Sam's Club membership was very, very important. Is there any way you can reinstitute those so we can like worry about something bigger?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I felt kind of silly for it, but I think it's kind of along the ways of what you're saying, like so, oh, come on, Gage. The guy wanted clean mowers and they cleaned the mowers and that was a difference maker. Well, to him, it probably made a difference, but I think probably what went on there, Gage, he saw the mowers being cleaned and he saw that as a victory and thought, man, I'm I'm valued here. I wonder what else they would listen to me about. That's the thing. Scott Adams, the famous cartoonist for Dilbert, he had a Dilbert cartoon, and it said like at the top, uh, today's discussion of change in the workplace. And one worker's talking to the other worker and says, "Sure, I'll change, but I want you to go first."
Yeah, there you
And
go.
that's kind of how life is. Like we don't necessarily do a really good job going forward with the first move, even if it means it hurts us a little bit. I just don't. I think that's just something that's tough. What else are you seeing out there in terms of workplaces that have been successful? Is there anything else that if for those that are contemplating growing their landscaping business, what would be ideas you have for growth? Just give me some things that you've seen, because how many landscaping companies have you been involved with?
Thousands would be an understatement, I would
Yeah,
say. So
right.
we've seen a lot of different mixes out there, Marty. We're all in the same industry, but there's a lot of different ways to run this business. And you start bringing snow into the equation, and that brings a whole new variable that everybody runs a little bit differently. But the people that I have seen successful have put a lot of thought into, do I want to grow, right? And if I don't want to grow, what am I going to do to make sure that I keep the company profitable and successful? But if I
So
do,
intentionality around growth.
absolutely. If I do want to grow, how do I grow in a controlled way? Because a lot of people in this industry, you hear the 1 million, the 5 million, and the $10 million marks, right? Those are the ones that are really tough to get over. And for the $5 to $10 million company, a lot of them, they hit this growth spurt and they lose a lot of control, because everything just comes out of nowhere. But the employees, the leaders of these organizations, they love to see that the owner, as you said, Marty, is very intentional about the business decisions that they're making. If I'm going to grow or I want to open up a new office, who do I want to put there? Do I want to offer any different services at that office? Um, do I want to go outside the state? Do I want to partner with subcontractors? These are all things that need to be thought through, Marty, before you just start selling work and hope it lands. Because it's hard to follow a leader like that, right? It's hard to follow a leader like that.
I know one of the things that, well, first of all, Aspire and the control we now have over the business, knowing where the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking, of course, where are we making money, where are we struggling, which accounts are worth it, which accounts aren't, who's performing well out in the field, who's not. I mean, the amount of data that we have running an aggregator like Aspire is amazing. And it gives you so much confidence. But the intentionality behind growth, like you just mentioned, I think that folks don't really understand what that means. We are talking right now, Gage, about our potential sales for 2026.
That's right.
We're also talking about 2025, but we're looking. because you need people, you need equipment, and you need clients. All right. And if you're selling commercial work, you're not going to go out and get that January 1 for the 2025 season. You got to go get it now. You've got to be setting that stuff up. And to your point about growth, we were stuck around 4.5 million. You could write us down for that every year. You could write us down for a healthy bottom line, but we weren't growing. And what I realized, and this was prior to Aspire, if you came in here and you were new, Gage, you'd look around and you'd be like, well, they're really organized. I mean, this thing is like run like clockwork.
Absolutely.
But there's no place for me to go. There's all of Marty's guys are in their 50s and 60s. He's not growing. I like him. I like the work, but I don't want to run a crew the rest of my life. Like I want to run a department. I have aspirations. I have goals. I have things I want to do with myself, with my family, my future.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, Marty. Managing people is the absolute hardest thing in the world to do. I firmly believe that. And I can't stress enough how just asking people what's important to them. And folks, please don't get caught up on culture means a beer keg in the office and a ping pong table. That's not culture. Culture to your people is I align the core values with the company. I live those core values, and I provide an excellent work life experience, not balance, but experience for my employees. That is culture, folks. That's culture.
Yeah, no, you're so right. I see some of these best places to work awards, and I'm sure some of them are great. But when I've read some of the write-ups, it'll say ABC Accountancy has a ping pong table that their team uses. They go on a deep sea fishing trip and everything else, and that's all great. I understand that, but if the owner doesn't slow down when he's walking in the morning to say hello, if the owner preaches how important customer service is, but doesn't do a good job on that himself or herself, all those things don't mean anything. So
that's right.
Not belittling best place to work awards. That's fantastic.
Sure.
But maybe instead of worrying solely on winning an award, worry on what is your turnover rate? What's your profitability? How are we doing? How many referrals has your existing team given you for new positions? New people that you've brought on board. I think those are things that we should share. All right, we got a couple minutes left here on the Grow Show powered by Steel. We're with Gage Roberts, the Senior Director of Strategic Accounts for the very successful Aspire software. And this is probably my favorite part of the discussion when I was thinking through what I wanted to talk to you about. I opened up the start by talking about my buddy Mike Weinberg's book. I think you guys have actually had him in to speak and work with you folks at Aspire, if I'm not mistaken. You're a great sales professional. What advice would you have for all of the landscape professionals that are listening to us today in the area of sales? You got a tip, you got a strategy, you got a philosophy? Lay it on me, brother.
So my favorite thing to say, and I say it so much, my people are probably tired of hearing me say it. My favorite thing to say is live in the middle. In sales, and I don't care what industry you're in.
Live in the middle.
Live in the middle.
Live in the middle. Okay, never heard it. Keep going.
No matter what industry you're in, if you're in sales, you're going to hit roller coasters. You're going to hit a high where you're just having a phenomenal month and you're living in the clouds. And the problem is if you don't bring yourself back down to the middle, you're going to fall off that cloud and now you're going to be in a valley. And then it's very, very hard for salespeople to dig out of the valley because salespeople are driven by money and performance. They love to perform and they love money, right? If you're not getting money and you're not performing, you're going to stay in that valley forever. So the only way you can manage this roller coaster, because the roller coaster will always be there, Marty, it's just sales.
Yeah.
Only way you can manage it is if you live in the middle.
I think that's not only great advice for salespeople, that's great advice for anyone. The late, great Dr. Eugene Gomolka was one of my favorite professors at the University of Dayton School of Business in the late 80s. And he said to me one time, he said, Marty, business is a wave. It goes up and it goes down. He said, you got to recognize when you're going down and you have to be smart enough when you were going up to put things in place that you can overcome the downturn because it's going to come back up. That's kind of what you're talking about as well. I like the way you phrased it better than Dr. Gomolka, but that is so true that, we have to be prepared for that. In 2021, 2022, and most of 2023, most landscape professionals were order takers. The conversations were, not how much, like, when can you do it? Are you sure you can get this done? I really want to get it done. Now it's, hey, I'm getting 3 bids. I'm not really sure if I want to do it. I mean, it's really separating the top from the bottom. If you ask me, you got to get out there and work. Any other sales tips or think about all the green industry sales professionals that you encountered. Any other tips you could give for the folks listening to the Grow Show today to maybe help them make a sale or two?
Yeah, so a minor plug here, but knowing your metrics as a salesperson
Yes,
is a lot more important than salespeople, I think, want to give credit to. So if I know that I'm closing at a 50% ratio and I need to go land $500,000 of business, how much do I need to bid in order
got to
to get
quote a
there?
million.
That's right, right? So
Yeah,
understanding that is very
it's a
helpful.
basic thing, but you're right. You got to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing, again, in my opinion, it's simple, but do what you say you're going to do. You Most landscape professionals, you put out a lot of bids, and you need to keep your finger on the pulse of the bids that you do put out, the promises that you make, the conversations that you have, because you would be surprised at how many salespeople in the world don't follow up. They don't do what they say they're going to do. And you know what?
No, they don't.
Even if you just do that little thing, that might be the separating factor to help you win that bid.
So tell us when Ignite is. I know I'll be there teaching. I look forward to that event every year. When is it? Where is it? Give us a little commercial for that.
Yeah, so Ignite is going to be in Orlando this year, at a really, really nice resort. We already are busting at the seams with signups. It's going to be fantastic. This year, it is August 26th and 28th, so it's earlier than last year.
So
Um,
August 26th, 27th, and 28th.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
Okay.
We're going to be doing some things the Monday before we start, having some invites out for some golf for anybody that might want to join us, and we're going to throw a lot of events, to go along with Ignite. So we're extremely excited. ServiceTitan is helping us with all of the great planning that they do and the resources that they have, and we're going to make this a memorable event as we do every year.
So you mentioned ServiceTitan. A couple years ago, you folks partnered up with ServiceTitan. What does that mean? How's that going to help? How is that helping landscape professionals?
Yeah. So to reiterate what I said a couple weeks ago, with Jerry Schill up in Cleveland, Ohio, Vince was with us up there. Fantastic event. Um, Acquisitions can be scary, and when you are the person being acquired, employees are scared. They have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, right. I can
Leadership
see
can
that.
give any message in the world that they want to. Employees are still going to be scared. So it took a while. It takes a while for people to get acclimated. But I will tell you, ServiceTitan's core values and the way that they look at how they do business is so aligned with ours. And to tell people what that means, we don't deliver a product, folks. We deliver a service, and the product is just complementary. We
I
help
see.
people succeed in this industry, and ServiceTitan feels the same way. It is because of ServiceTitan that we're able to invest $57 million into our product and services. That's a big number.
It's a big
And
number.
but here's the thing, if you don't invest that, you fall behind.
Right. No good. No. It's interesting. I'll just tell one more funny story. Our plumber uses ServiceTitan. And it's amazing because I've seen the transformation in their business. And I was talking to the owner, and he said, "Well, Marty," he said, "our cash flow has never been like this." He said, "You'll notice when we're pulling out of your driveway, you're getting a bill." And he said, "Most of our clients pay that bill with their credit card the same day." He said, "I just can't tell you what this has meant for our business. And it's enabled us to focus on other things." And I think that's a good thing, like training and so on and so forth. So, folks, today we've had Gage Roberts, the Senior Director of Strategic Accounts, joined us on the Grow Show. Gage, how does everybody get a hold of you?
So I am on basically any social media that you want. LinkedIn, I'm very active on there. My email address is gage.roberts@youraspire.com. My personal email address is my personal phone number is attached to my email address because I love talking to customers and prospects anytime they want. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody about how to grow your business.
Well, and I know you could help them. Gage, we've really enjoyed having you on the Grow Show. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate you having me.
Well, that's going to do it for The Grow Show, folks, powered by Steel this week. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to The Grow Show. And if you can, give it a rating or share a comment. That helps more success-minded landscape professionals find us. And if you really want to help us, share this episode with your team or any landscape pro you know. Thanks for joining us on The Grow Show this week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Grow Show. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And head to growgroupinc.com for more information and resources to grow your landscaping business. A special thanks to the folks at Steel, whose support makes this podcast possible and whose reliable handheld power equipment makes our jobs easier daily. We'll talk to you next week.